May is here, and with it comes the Goober Readathon 2025. If you haven't heard of the Goober Readathon, this is a reading challenge hosted by myself and my friends, or the Bujo Buddies Book Club. The general gist, though, is that we're trying to encourage ourselves to read more in May. If that means reading one book compared to reading none, or reading like 27 books compared to reading 26, both of those are valid. If you haven't seen the introductory video, the very general gist is that our mascot, Ghosty Goober, is undertaking a study in plants. They've made themselves a little study guide with 27 different things that they want to study for, or 27 prompts, and we're going to select books that align with those prompts, read them, and get points. All in an effort to help Ghosty Goober deepen their understanding of plants. You do not actually have to read plant books, and you don't have to read for all 27 prompts. In fact, 3 of the prompts aren't even reading related, but more on that in a second. I have decided though that I want to reach the top tier of this reading challenge, so what books have I selected and which prompts have I tied them to? As we go through, I'm not necessarily recommending these books because most of them I haven't read at this stage, but I wanted to show you how I'm breaking down the reading challenge so that I can hit the top tier without reading for every single prompt. Part A of the study guide has 6 different categories that we can read for, those being native plants, edible plants, medicinal plants, poisonous plants, carnivorous plants, and aquatic plants. The prompts in these categories range from 1 to 3 points, and you have to read them in order for any category. That means that in order to get like the second tier of the native plants category, you have to already have read the first tier. At least the first tier in native plants, you don't have to go and read the first thing in every single category. Because the points that you can get increase with those tiers, so the first in native plants being 1 point, the second being 2, and the third being 3, it means that there is a benefit from kind of focusing your efforts in select categories rather than kind of spraying bullets and hoping to hit a target kind of a thing. Instead of doing like prompt 1 from every single category, I'm focusing my efforts on just a couple of the categories so that I can get the most points possible. The categories I'm focusing on are edible plants, carnivorous plants, and poisonous plants. And scooting over so that we can have a look at what I'm going to read. For edible plants, the first tier is called Homegrowing, and this is picking a book that was a recent addition to your TBR. The book that I've added is Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green, mainly because I'm going to go wild in May, and it's in Indianapolis, where John Green is from, and he's going to be the keynote speaker. So I thought it'd be kind of nice to have read something he's written before I get to see him on stage. I could have picked The Fault in Our Stars, but Everything is Tuberculosis is the newest one, so it must be better, right? I have literally no idea what this book is about, so let's go look it up. Once romanticized as a malady of poets, today tuberculosis is a disease of poverty that walks the trails of injustice and inequity we blazed for it. In 2019, John Green met Henry, a young tuberculosis patient at Lowkey Government Hospital in Sierra Leone. John became fast friends with Henry, a boy with spindly legs and a big, goofy smile. In the years since that first visit to Lowkey, Green has become a vocal and dynamic advocate for increased access to treatment and wider awareness of the healthcare inequities that allow this curable, treatable infectious disease to also be the deadliest, killing 1.5 million people every year. In Everything is Tuberculosis, John tells Henry's story, woven through with the scientific and social histories of how tuberculosis has shaped our world and how our choices will shape the future of tuberculosis. Lowkey, it sounds a little bit heavy for the first read in my reading challenge, but I don't necessarily have to start with it. I just need to make sure that I 1, read it before I see John Green, and 2, also make sure that I read it before the second book in this category. The second prompt is called Foraging in Wild Foods, and this is reading either a second-hand or borrowed book. For this one, I'm going with Lore Olympus Volume 7 by Rachel Smythe, mainly because Monica lent it to me, so it's borrowed from her. But for this, you could also do like borrowed from a library, borrowed from a friend, family member. You could get a book at a second-hand bookshop, essentially just reading a book that either was purchased second-hand or maybe you don't own, you've borrowed it from somewhere else. Because this is the 7th book in a series, I'm not going to give you the blurb of the 7th book because like there might be spoilers, but the description of Lore Olympus Volume 1 at least, Persephone, young goddess of spring, is new to Olympus. Her mother, Demeter, has raised her in the mortal realm, but after Persephone promises to train as a sacred virgin, she's allowed to live in the fast-moving, glamorous world of the gods. When her roommate, Artemis, takes her to a party, her entire life changes. She ends up meeting Hades and feels an immediate spark with the charming yet misunderstood ruler of the underworld. Now Persephone must navigate the confusing politics and relationships that rule Olympus, while also figuring out her own place and her own power. You can actually read this one for free on Webtoon, it's just that you have to watch so many ads. So I'm very glad that Monica lent me the book. It's going to be much more enjoyable reading it that way, rather than reading like small snippet, ad, small snippet, 2 ads, small snippet, here's another ad. Yes, I could pay for like a fast pass or whatever, but I'm not going to do that. So this is going to be my borrowed from a friend book. The third one we have in that category though is agricultural systems, and this is reading a book with over 100,000 ratings on Goodreads. The book I selected for this one is Start With Why by Simon Sinek, and this is one I've been meaning to read for a while and just haven't gotten around to it, like most things on my TBR. People like Martin Luther King Jr., Steve Jobs, and the Wright brothers might have little in common, but they all started with why. It was their natural ability to start with why that enabled them to inspire those around them and to achieve remarkable things. In studying the leaders who've had the greatest influence in the world, Simon Sinek discovered that they all think, act, and communicate in the exact same way, and it's the complete opposite of what everyone else does. Sinek calls this powerful idea the golden circle, and provides a framework upon which organizations can be built, movements can be led, and people can be inspired. And it all starts with why. Starting with why works in big business and small business, in the non-profit world and in politics. Those who start with why never manipulate, they inspire. And the people who follow them don't do so because they have to. They follow because they want to. This one has 252,000 ratings, most of which are positive, so I'm feeling pretty good about this book. I'm interested in this concept because purpose first is kind of what I like to start with in every area of my life, so I figured it could probably have some helpful takeaways. The next category I'm reading from though is poisonous plants, with the first prompt in this being early identification, or reading a book with an eye-catching cover. Mainly because a lot of poisonous plants are brightly coloured and thus eye-catching. I'm not saying you have to read a book that has a bright cover here, it just needs to be eye-catching in some way. That could be because it really stands out, maybe it's a bit garish, or it could be because it's really pretty and it just kind of like captures your attention. I decided to go with the brightly coloured option, and I'm going to be reading the one-page marketing plan. Originally I was going to have this one for my recently added to my TBR, because it was recently added to my TBR, but I figured that the very punchy yellow cover kind of stood out well enough to be considered for this prompt. I do appreciate that the start of this one says, "Do not read this book if you hate money." Like, fair. Because I'm not very well versed in marketing, I figured that this one would probably be a good read for me, especially because it seems to be simple. Like if you can get something down to one page, in theory it should be fairly simple. In the one-page marketing plan, serial entrepreneur and rebellious marketer Alan Dibb reveals a marketing implementation breakthrough that makes creating a marketing plan simple and fast. It's literally a single page divided up into 9 squares. With it, you'll be able to map out your own sophisticated marketing plan and go from zero to marketing hero. That's a big claim, but alright. Whether you're just starting out or an experienced entrepreneur, the one-page marketing plan is the easiest and fastest way to create a marketing plan that will propel your business growth. In this groundbreaking new book, you'll learn how to get new customers, clients, or patients, and how to make more profit with existing ones, why big business style marketing could kill your business, and strategies that actually work for small and medium-sized businesses, a simple step-by-step process for creating your own personalized marketing plan that is literally one page. It does have some other claims and such, I don't think I need to get into the weeds of it, but given the fact that I know literally nothing about marketing, I figured this was probably a pretty good place to start. I like books that can make things simple for me, and especially when they have actionable takeaways. This one is another that has a lot of positive reviews, so I'm hopeful. This entire category is really non-fiction focused, but the next prompt that we have is called Antidote Administration, and this is reading a book that's been recommended from somebody else. Now that could be a recommendation from a friend, family member, peer, or it could be like like an online list recommendation. That's where I got mine from, and I'm gonna be reading 4,000 Weeks. You know, I keep saying I'm gonna be reading. I hope to be reading. There are a lot of books on this list. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it through the whole thing, but this is my plan. If I've got my plan in place, then I'm more likely to do the thing. I like this book though because the subtitle is Time Management for Mortals. I just appreciate that as a slogan. But our blurb here says, the average human lifespan is absurdly, insultingly brief. Assuming you live to be 80, you have just over 4,000 weeks. Nobody needs to be told there isn't enough time. Still, we rarely make the connection between our daily struggles with time and the ultimate time management problem, the challenge of how best to use our 4,000 weeks. Drawing on the insights of both ancient and contemporary philosophers, psychologists, and spiritual teachers, Oliver Burkeman delivers an entertaining, humorous, practical, and ultimately profound guide to time and time management. Rejecting the futile modern obsession with getting everything done, 4,000 Weeks introduces readers to tools for constructing a meaningful life by embracing finitude, showing that many of the unhelpful ways we've come to think about time aren't inescapable, unchanging truths, but choices we've made as individuals and as a society, and that we could do things differently. When it comes to reading these blurbs, I'm usually kind of okay with doing it for the non-fiction books. When it comes to fiction books though, I get very worried about spoilers. This one has me very excited about reading this book now. I don't know, I'm not great with time management. It is something that I feel like I'm constantly working on, so having a new perspective might be a good idea. The next prompt for this category though is called Toxic Tactics, and this is reading a book you've been avoiding. Now, oftentimes I don't really consider myself to be avoiding a book per se, so I've kind of taken this one to just be something that's been on my TBR for a really, really long time, and I just keep putting it off. So I'm gonna be reading Getting Things Done by David Allen. This is like the productivity book. It has been very commonly quoted. I know that I'm using parts of the system in my day-to-day life, even though I haven't read the book, so reading the book I feel like would be a good idea. The subtitle on this one is called The Art of Stress-Free Productivity. That's a big claim, we'll see what happens. But in terms of our blurb, we have, in today's world, yesterday's methods just don't work. Allen's premise is simple. Our productivity is directly proportional to our ability to relax. Only when our minds are clear and our thoughts are organized can we achieve effective productivity and unleash our creative potential. In Getting Things Done, Allen shows how to apply the do it, delegate it, defer it, and drop it rule to get your inbox empty. He shows how to reassess goals and stay focused in changing situations, how to plan projects as well as get them unstuck, how to overcome feelings of confusion, anxiety, and being overwhelmed, and how to feel fine about what you're not doing. From core principles to proven tricks, Getting Things Done can transform the way you work, showing you how to pick up the pace without wearing yourself down. This is another one that I probably could have done for the 100,000 ratings because it has 163,000 ratings, but this is one that comes up a lot, especially in the bullet journaling space, because a lot of the principles that we have in bullet journaling very much relate to the stuff in Getting Things Done. They're systems that do work really well together, so I think it'd be really great to actually have read this book. Given the fact that I haven't at this stage though, makes it perfect for the Toxic Tactics prompt. The next category I'm going to be reading from though is carnivorous plants, with the first prompt on this one being predatory plants, or poaching a book off somebody else's TBR. This could be somebody else who's undertaking the Goober Readathon or any other kind of reading challenge. It could just be going onto your friends list on Goodreads or the Storygraph and seeing what people have in their want to read pile, or it could be taking it from a list online. I've done that option, so I'm going to be reading Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. I made this plan feeling like I was being a lot more balanced in terms of my fiction versus non-fiction. Obviously that is not the case, but it's fine. How you use your free time will make or break your success. The secret? It's not about working harder or finding more time to do work. It's about designing the freedom to engage in the high-value work that brings you energy and fulfillment. This is at the heart of the message that has made Dan Martell the world's most popular SaaS coach. In Buy Back Your Time, he teaches entrepreneurs at every level how to scale their business fast while avoiding burnout. Trading money for time, that is, literally buying back free space in your calendar, will give you more financial success than you ever dreamed was possible. Buy Back Your Time is the definitive guide for entrepreneurs at every level on how to succeed in business while enjoying more freedom than you ever imagined. As somebody who does genuinely struggle with my time management, as we kind of already talked about, especially when it comes to my work, I figured that this book could probably offer some helpful advice about how I can get more free time in my schedule, because I am very much the kind of person who will typically just fill any free time I have with more work stuff. And I'd like to stop doing that. I've at least started improving in that area, but it is something I could probably use more help on. I do also think that reading blurbs before you put something on your TBR is probably a good idea in some respects, because I didn't realize this book was going to be quite so business focused, but I'm not sad about it. I've heard a lot of good things about it, so hopefully it's a good one. Our next prompt in this category though is Traps and Lures for 2 points, and this is reading the first book in a series, because it like traps you in and now you have to read like 8 more books or something. I have actually selected a series that's only 2 books long, because, you know, a duology is still a series, even if it's a very short series, and I'm going to be reading One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. Now, as said, I don't usually read blurbs for fiction books because I'm a little adverse to spoilers, and by a little I mean I'm a lot averse to spoilers, but it's fine. But I'm going to do this for you, so that you know what this book is about. This one says that Elspeth needs a monster. The monster might be her. Elspeth Spindle needs more than luck to stay safe in the eerie, mist-locked kingdom of Blunder. She needs a monster. She calls him the Nightmare, an ancient, mercurial spirit trapped in her head. He protects her. He keeps her secrets. But nothing comes for free, especially magic. When Elspeth meets a mysterious highwayman on the forest road, her life takes a drastic turn. Thrust into a world of shadow and deception, she joins a dangerous quest to cure Blunder from the dark magic infecting it. And the highwayman? He just so happens to be the king's nephew, captain of the most dangerous men in Blunder, and guilty of high treason. Together, they must gather 12 Providence cards, the keys to the cure. But as the stakes heighten and their undeniable attraction intensifies, Elspeth is forced to face her darkest secret yet. The nightmare is slowly taking over her mind, and she might not be able to stop him. Thankfully, I feel like that wasn't too spoilery, so hopefully it'll be fine. I'm mainly reading this one because Rachel and Monica, the other Bujo buddies in the Bujo Buddies book club, have both read it and both said it was really good. That's pretty much where I get most of my recommendations for fiction from. It's because they told me to read something, so I'm reading it because they told me to. The third prompt for 3 points in this category though is digestive processes, and this is finishing a book in a day. Now, I kind of feel like I might just end up selecting this book when I get to it, and in particular I was kind of hoping that I could possibly try and read it for our reading retreat, though that is the first weekend in May, so I might not quite be ready for it, you know, given that you have to read the prompts in any category in Part A in order. But the book that I've set aside for this one is Show Your Work by Austen Kleon. Mainly because it's a very little book. In a forward-thinking and necessary book, Austen Kleon shows how to take that critical next step on a creative journey: getting known. Show Your Work is about why generosity trumps genius. It's about getting findable, about using the network instead of wasting time networking. It's not self-promotion, it's self-discovery. Let others into your process and let them steal from you. Filled with illustrations, quotes, stories, and examples, Show Your Work offers 10 transformative rules for being open, generous, brave, and productive. From broader life lessons about work, to the etiquette of sharing and the dangers of oversharing, to the practicalities of internet life. It's an inspiring manifesto for succeeding as any kind of artist or entrepreneur in the digital age. This is another one that's been on my list for a while. Also, it's like really short, like 215 pages short, and most of the words on a page are like 12 words or something. It's like a picture book for adults, so I think I can probably finish that one in a day. Those 9 books from Part A will get me to 18 points, so like, you know, 1 plus 2 plus 3 times 3, but that doesn't get me to the top tier. For top tier, I need 49 points, but thankfully, Part B offers quite a few more. The 3 categories that we have in Part B are Biodiversity Basics, the Plant Practicum, and Advanced Horticulture, with the prompts in there offering between 2 and 6 points each. Biodiversity Basics is all about reading from the host TBRs, and as one of the hosts, I feel like I kind of get a free pass on this. But the first prompt in this category for 2 points is Genetic Diversity, and that's reading from one of the host TBRs. So I shall be reading from my own TBR, and I'm going to be reading The Disappearance of Vanessa Shaw by Sarah Cannon. Our blurb here says, "Secrets can kill. Vanessa Shaw was the kind of girl you either loved or you loved to hate. Over the course of our friendship, I'd done both. I never should have gone to her family's secluded cabin on the river that night, but it was meant to bring us all closer. One last party with our original group before senior year began. Instead, Vanessa disappeared without a trace, and her memory's been haunting me ever since. Now, exactly 1 year later, her brother Kieran has brought all of us back to the cabin to honor her life. 6 of Vanessa's closest friends, each with a secret we'd do anything to protect. But I have a feeling no one is leaving until we unbury the truth. After all, everyone there that night had a reason to want Vanessa gone, including me. Don't miss this psychological thriller with a hint of the supernatural, the perfect for fans of Pretty Little Liars and A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I do also want to read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, but I haven't gotten to that one just yet. But I love Sarah. She's such a good egg. She also has a YouTube channel. You might know her. Her name's Heart Breathings on YouTube. Or Sarah Cannon. She does technically have 2 channels. But after watching her updates on YouTube for the longest time, telling us about like her progress in the story and where she was going with it and the editing and all of that kind of thing, I've been very excited to read it, so I am committed to doing that for this readathon. If I had to like tier rank the books that I have on my list, this one is definitely one of the top 5. The next tier though, for 4 points, is species diversity, and this is reading from 2 host TBRs, so Disappearance of Vanessa Shaw for one of them, and then I need to pick another one. The one I'm going to be reading for this is Dungeons and Drama by Kirsty Boyce, which also happens to be our book club book for May, so that's kind of convenient too. This one is from Rachel's TBR, and our blurb says, musical lover Riley has big aspirations to become a director on Broadway. Crucial to this plan is to bring back her high school's spring musical. But when Riley takes her mum's car without permission, she's grounded and stuck with the worst punishment, spending her after-school hours working at her dad's game shop. Riley can't waste her time working when she has a musical to save, so she convinces Nathan, a nerdy teen employee, to cover her shifts, and in exchange, she'll flirt with him to make his gamer girl crush jealous. But Riley didn't realize that meant joining Nathan's Dungeons and Dragons game, or that role-playing would be so much fun. Soon, Riley starts to think that flirting with Nathan doesn't require as much acting as she would have thought. It sounds cute. I like that on the cover he has elf ears. I think that's kind of sweet. The read theme for May was a book with games or trials, so D&D being a game, this one counted. I think it's going to be a cute read. I'm looking forward to reading it. And that one is one that is assured to get read because I have to read it for book club and I don't want to get punished for not reading the book club book. The third in this category though, ecological diversity, is worth 6 points, meaning that if you read one book from each of the host TBRs, you get 12 points, which is pretty dang good, especially considering it's only 3 books. Well, I say only, for some people that's actually quite a lot of books. Actually, for me, in 1 month, that's quite a lot of books. But anyway, the only host TBR I have left to read from will be from Monica, and I'm going to be reading Blood on Her Tongue by Joanna Van Veen. Just let me look this one up on Goodreads so I can tell you the blurb. Because again, this is a fiction book, which means I know literally nothing about it going in. Though now I suppose I will know something. The Netherlands, 1887. Lucy's twin sister Sarah is unwell. She refuses to eat, mumbles nonsensically, and is increasingly obsessed with a centuries-old corpse recently discovered on her husband's grand estate. The doctor has diagnosed her with temporary insanity caused by a fever of the brain. To protect her twin from a terrible fate at a lunatic asylum, Lucy must unravel the mystery surrounding her sister's condition. But it's clear her twin is hiding something. Then again, Lucy is harboring secrets of her own too. Then the worst happens. Sarah's behaviour takes a turn for the strange. She becomes angry and hungry. Lucy soon comes to suspect that something is trying to possess her beloved sister. Or is it madness? As Sarah changes before her very eyes, Lucy must reckon with the dark, monstrous truth, or risk losing her forever. I never like to read the tags on Goodreads because I feel like there are spoilers, but this one does say that it is a horror, gothic, historical fiction, and then there are also some other tags which I do feel are spoilers, so we're not going to read any more of those. Gosh dang it, these people and their tags and their spoilers. In terms of the next reading category though, we have advanced horticulture, and I'm not going to be doing all 3 prompts in these, but each of the prompts are worth 4 points. The first one that I'm going to be doing is called Community Gardens, and this is using a poll to pick out your read. For the poll that I put up, I either have The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, or Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. At the moment, the poll is still in its early stages, so we'll have to wait and see which one wins, though the love hypothesis is currently winning, and I'm not necessarily sad about that, because I do seem to have a lot of non-fiction books on my list already, so a rom-com would be kind of nice. In the assumption that that one wins, I'm going to write down the love hypothesis, and our blurb here says that as a third-year PhD candidate, Olive Smith doesn't believe in lasting romantic relationships, but her best friend does. And that's what got her into this situation. Convincing Anne that Oliver's dating and well on her way to a happily ever after was always gonna take more than hand-wavy Jedi mind tricks. Scientists require proof. So, like any self-respecting biologist, Olive panics and kisses the first man she sees. That man is none other than Adam Carlson, a young hotshot professor and well-known ass. Which is why Olive is positively floored when Stanford's reigning lab tyrant agrees to help keep her charade a secret and be her fake boyfriend. But when a big science conference goes haywire, putting Olive's career on the Bunsen burner, Adam surprises her again with his unyielding support and even more unyielding six-pack abs. Suddenly, their little experiment feels dangerously close to combustion, and Olive discovers that the only thing more complicated than a hypothesis on love is putting her own heart under the microscope. This is another one that is on my TBR because Rachel recommended it. She said it was very kind of like tropey rom-com-esque, and I just feel like it's gonna be a fun read. I actually have already started this one as well, so I'm gonna use it for the Goober Readathon in some way, shape, or form, even if it doesn't get selected for the community garden. Mainly because you're allowed to read half of your first book for the readathon before the month actually starts. And I am nowhere near 50% yet. For reference, I'm filming this on the last day of April. I'm not going to be doing the second prompt in this category, which is exotic plants, which is where you read a special edition, mainly because I don't have any special editions, but the third prompt in this category is propagation station, and this is doing a reread. For me, that is going to be Undead and Unwed by Mary Janice Davidson. I have not read this book for like many moons, like at least 10, maybe even 15 years. I think I read this one when I was back in high school. I don't know why I said I think. I know I read this one back when I was in high school, which means it was before 2009. We don't call it 2009, we call it 2009. Oof. You get the idea. The description of this one is very short, saying, first Betsy Taylor loses her job, and then she's killed in a car accident. But what really bites is that she can't seem to stay dead, and now her new friends have the ridiculous idea that Betsy is the prophesized vampire queen, and they want her to help in overthrowing the most obnoxious, power-hungry vampire in 5 centuries. They're keeping it short and sweet on this one. I'm looking forward to this. I really enjoyed it the first time I read it. Admittedly, that was, as mentioned, quite a while ago, so it'll be interesting to see if I still enjoy it. I used to have at least the first maybe 4 books in this series, but I know there are considerably more than that. I think it's going to be just a light-hearted, fun kind of read, and nice to revisit a series that I enjoyed such a while ago. Now, as said, there is one section in Goober's plant study plan that doesn't actually require us to read anything, and that is the plant practicum. This one has prompts that have between 2 and 6 points. The first of which is kitchen garden for 2 points, which requires us to make a plant-based meal. I have literally no idea what I'm going to cook for this, so if you have any recommendations of plant-based meals you like, please do give them to me. I think I'll probably just find a good looking vegan recipe online or something. I think the hardest part is going to be convincing Vogel to eat it with me, but I'm looking forward to it all the same. And also seeing everybody else's plant-based recipes and having them share those. Always looking for things to add to my recipe book. The second prompt though, for 4 points, is called Touch Grass, which I just love, and this is to take a walk in nature. I'm going to be doing this one with the other Bujo Buddies Book Club hosts, so Rachel, Monica, and myself are going to go find somewhere to walk in nature, hopefully not too far afield, because I don't want to go on a giant trek. That will totally take away from my reading time, and my reading list is long, but somewhere in and around where we live would be kind of nice. We do have a couple of hiking and walking trails, so I'm sure we'll be able to find something, and if we don't find anything super close to home, we might just go to Zealandia. The third prompt in this category though is called urban greenification, and this is to grow a plant. Now, growing plants is something I've been kind of getting into recently. I have a couple of plants in my office now that I really love, but this prompt means that I get to add another one. And I think I'm gonna try and do something with my succulent patch, because one of them died, one of them is on the way to dying, and the other one's still looking pretty good, but he could use a friend. If I don't do that, then maybe I'll get a spider plant. I'm kind of interested in getting a spider plant as well. If I manage to complete all of these prompts, I will get 50 points and thus be a haunting herbologist, the top tier of the Goober Readathon. So fingers crossed I can get there. We'll have to wait and see. There are quite a few books on this list, and I'm going to be traveling for part of May, which does mean a lot of time in transit, so hopefully time for reading. If you're going to be taking part in the Goober Readathon, or just if you're going to be reading in May, I would love to know what's on your TBR. Make sure to drop it in the comments. And if you wanted to get involved with the Goober Readathon, we would love to have you with us. You can check out the introductory video here, which explains how the readathon works and how to get involved. So click or tap on that one, and I'll see you over there.